Hi, I'm Melissa Thornley, and we are here today talking with co-founders and the CEO, Josh Rush, and CMO, Adam Voss of SURREAL Events. Now, they are innovative, future-forward business and technology leaders that pivoted last year when COVID hit. So we are going to talk to them today about the second screen experience, about hybrid experiences, about how the trade show industry is impacted, about how retail and sporting events are impacted, how any experience you are having or have had is impacted by technology. And I am so excited to have this conversation. Josh and Adam, thank you for joining us today.
Melissa, thanks for having us. It's great to see you.
It's great to have you guys. So let's just start at the beginning. You know, with Echelon, the original company, leader in the trade show industry and creating innovative experiences live for clients, what was going through your minds last year when COVID hit?
Alcohol?
There was a fair amount of that flowing at the time, I would say. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of surreal, pun intended, to say or to look back and think what was 17 or 18 months ago now. And, in fact, we're still dealing with the pandemic today. But, at the start of COVID, it was really sort of a domino effect that we first saw probably at the start of the year with some of our partners over in Asia and then eventually in Europe in January. And shows were just starting to cancel left and right as COVID became, more and more of an issue. And I guess it was probably, Adam, we were planning actually to participate at one of our industry events where we were going to actually be activating with our own large build out and experience and had to pull the plug at the last minute just because of COVID. And it was a crazy time for sure.
Yeah, we were going to be a part of the Experiential Marketing Summit, and at that point, no one had really foreseen kind of the impact that this was going to have on the global community. I mean, from supply chains to, the need for emergent technologies to take center stage. And for us, it was really a rapid pivot. We'd already been using kind of the coding base that our solution is built on, which is Unreal Engine. And, I think Josh very deftly and quickly said, we need to figure out how to take the experiences that we're giving and the stuff that we were going to do at the EMS to the virtual landscape inside of Unreal Engine. So that's really what propelled us to go forward.
Yeah. Well, let's pause there for a second because let's let our listeners understand what is Unreal Engine.
Yeah, so Unreal Engine is a real-time rendering engine that powers games like Fortnite, and so that's where most people probably recognize the engine. And so it's a 3D design software that allows you to visualize really, really high-end graphics in real time, which allows for the kind of gaming experiences that we provide on SURREAL. So none of what we're doing would be possible without the team at Epic Games.
Got it. Now, how long, you said it was a rapid pivot. I imagine that there was that moment of like your jaws on the floor, right? What was the ramp up to start shifting into this second screen scenario?
Well, I think the context though is that we had experience with creating like lifelike renders. And I think rendering something, a photo or a moving image in Unreal Engine, you can make it indistinguishable from a real, tangible environment. So for us, having that context and having that skill set, able to deploy that pretty quickly, it was just I think the decision to move, that this was the pivot we were going to make. I mean, it happened within a matter of hours.
So we needed something that was A, photorealistic, B, would allow you to kind of experience like a virtual world like you do in real life, and then C, something that was sort of online. So when COVID hit and the Game Developer Conference canceled and Facebook canceled their conference and all the other major tech conferences canceled, which we play a lot in heavily, we knew that this was going to be, at least 12 to 18 months of disruption in our business. And we thought, well, now's the time. This technology exists, and we set out to go build it. And we had a plan, and really started. I don't know, within a matter of weeks, we were moving.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this is I feel like a lot of people thought or might think, oh, this would be sort of a great option, to deal with the COVID situation, right? And but we're all going to go back to real life. We're not actually going to really need all this later, right? And that's ultimately not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is technology and a new type of experience that you were looking at prior to COVID, because there's so many other benefits. I mean, it increases accessibility to people regardless of your physical location. It helps in the environmental situation by decreasing people's carbon footprint. It helps with costs for organizations so they can send more people to conferences. I mean, there are countless other benefits aside from, okay, we have to do this because of the pandemic that we're all in globally. So also, caveat, I have had the opportunity to be in one of these environments. And when you talked about the choose your own adventure, that cannot be stressed more highly, because I think about all of the virtual conferences that I went to over the past 18 months. And so many of them, even with really compelling content and or speakers, you don't have really any choices. You're siloed. Here's the program. You can choose to pop in and pop out, but there's no way to bump into somebody, even so much as in the chat. Like, you might know that somebody else is in a conference with you, and the chat, so that people are paying attention, you can't chat personally one-to-one with somebody. And even then it would just be typing. So to be in one of the surreal experiences where you can actually, hey, look, there's the CEO of that organization that I want to talk to, or, oh my gosh, there's this person I've emailed with a bunch of times and I haven't met them yet. Yeah. Awesome. I can quick sit down and connect with them live face to face, even though it's not
and that's a major, again, underlying difference between the technology at Surreal and some of the stuff that a lot of people we've all experienced enough virtual events to last us a lifetime.
No, I mean, in the past, when we talk about MR, mixed reality, it would be like, augmented or virtual. It would be an interface through either a mobile device or a headset. What we did is kind of looked at the traditional video game community and what that was doing in terms of leveraging that for adjacent, more business opportunities. So for instance, when we started, it was all about, like Josh said, taking a social first approach, a choose your own adventure to, B2B events. For us, that was kind of what we knew as, an agency that produced events and activations, as, marketing strategists. But the more we looked at it, you think about a gaming environment, and I have a 16-year-old who plays video games. But the fact is, these kids are going into the space during COVID to hang out, to just be social. And for me, that was like the first kind of eye-opening, like, hey, wait a second. So they're limited to their interactions because they can't leave their homes. And these interactions, they can have, voice chat. They're wearing the headsets. They have these real beautiful, real-time kind of rendered environments that they could see together. And so we just basically built off that thesis and, added a video chat component, added, a text component, added maps, added really beautiful art, plus really cool interactions. And eventually that led us to creating more transactions. What could you do in the space? Could you add Shopify APIs that would allow you to see like really rich product renders and then be able to interact with them with your client and then put it in your cart and then check out? I mean, there's so many things you could do in a video game, but they've all been kind of siloed stacks in the past, right? So all in-game, micro purchases, which are, according to research, about $100 per kid, in that kind of 15 to 25 zone per month. So like now you get these microtransactions that you can actually, experience on a brand or, a corporate level. And I mean, it just unloads this floodgate. There's so much you can do.
Yeah. So it seems like this environment would work obviously for so many industries, but are there particular types of clients or organizations that this is just like the sweet spot? This is perfect. Like, who are your target clients?
We're working with major, like Fortune 500 brands. These are like large, whether they're sports leagues and or sports franchises, major fashion lifestyle brands, automotive companies, large corporations that see the need and the fact that this is actually something that is only going to continue to grow and become more relevant over time. And when I say this, I'm referring to this kind of metaverse or metaversal like future where you've got these 3D, immersive environments where people can begin to kind of plug in and out with their digital identity, where right now we all have like a wallet or an app on our phone that really is our identity. But in this 3D world, you'll be able to kind of move freely in and out of these zones in a way that's a bit more democratized than it currently exists. And so we're really hyper focused on those brands and those organizations that are leading already in this space, and then developing tools for the next generation of creators to more readily and rapidly prototype and deploy their own experiences for their own brands, so that we can build more of these connected experiences over time. And it's a lot of work, but it's fun.
Well, it's interesting because you have to kind of be anthropologists while you're doing this, right? It's one thing to try to create something when somebody is going to have a virtual only experience. And what we're leaning into right now, what I'm hearing is this is obviously not going away, and it's going to be complementary and in addition to a live experience.
Absolutely.
Right? So what does that look like from a retail experience or from a sporting experience?
To your point, I mean, we're kind of in a real-time proof of concept with this. Our first stage was all about what we knew with business-to-business events. Our second stage really, and kind of where we are in terms of a lot of the clientele that we're dealing with right now, sports teams, live music shows, retail environments. This is predicated on like creating more of a fan engagement, an experience that's always on. It's not just for one day or 2 days, but it's a place where people can interact with beautiful environments. They can hang out with their friends and they can transact, be it like, buy the clothes your avatar is wearing, or, experience a retail environment of your favorite store, and be able to like play, and then you get influencers and celebrities in those spaces. Again, it's just there's with this kind of environment, it's a video game, so you can do anything and everything. So what works, we don't know, but as Josh mentioned, our like stage 3 of this is giving the tools and giving the opportunity for creators to create. So building a platform where it's automating the ability for you as a brand or an organization or an individual to create these experiences and make them within.
Into my head, say I'm a brand and I'm interested in exploring these type of hybrid and or second screen experiences. What are the questions that, as an organization, like my brand, should be asking ourselves as we step into this next phase, the future of experiences? What questions should we be asking ourselves as brands and organizations?
I would say starting there is really, really important. But the other, I guess, like I said earlier, the really trying to understand, or if you're struggling at all with this question of like, should we or shouldn't we? The answer is definitely yes. And the reason why it's yes is because this is, like I said, it's not going backward. It's only going to go forward. It's only going to accelerate, more quickly over time with regards to what the technology can do and how you're going to use it to engage people where they're at. And gaming, as we know it, is exploding, right? I mean, and Adam, you've got some of the projections that some of these companies have done, but we're looking at a market that's projected to grow to well north of $300 billion over the next couple of years. And this is, made up largely of the demographic of folks that are going to be migrating into, the workforce and being more influential in the workforce. And so not only at home, but at work, you've got an audience that's already expecting to kind of work and play in this environment.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that you don't want to all do the disservice to think, oh, well, this is just for this up and coming generation.
No.
Us as an organization, we don't have to do it just yet. We'll like hang tight, because no, like it's accessible to everybody. It's not just, I am not a gamer at all. I mean, aside from maybe Tetris and Ms. Pac-Man, that's about my that's about my skill level. It's where I stop. Yeah. Pinball. But it was so easy for me to get into the space, understand how to work my avatar, figure it all out. So it made it very simple for me to connect with peers and colleagues and make those connections, those business connections that we want to make. So it's not so I wouldn't, I totally agree with you. Yeah, like everybody's going to expect it. It's a done deal, but that doesn't mean anybody should be waiting, right? Because people are ready for it now.
Yeah, and I mean, getting on the pipeline too for these companies is really important, because if you're, anybody that's selling products, for example, like, getting on an Unreal Engine pipeline where you're beginning to virtualize your products, your assets, for distribution across new channels. And this virtual event space is a new channel, right? Virtual, metaverse, whatever you want to call it, is a new channel, entirely new. But what you do today will not be a wasted effort. It's all going to be an investment in the future. And I think that's really important for brands to understand too, is that this is all stuff that's going to continue to, evolve and improve over time. So not only is the demographic or the potential users of this a really wide, diverse group, but also a large up and coming group. But the work required to be able to even begin to play in this space is an enormous investment in your near future. This isn't like far off future technology. This is now technology, and the brands that understand that are already
right. So what you're saying is, like, making the investment in it now, you're only going to see future rewards, and it's going to be cumulative.
That's right.
If you don't have a comprehensive digital strategy that looks at the future of what Josh and what Sweeney at Epic Games and what others are calling the metaverse or metaversal experiences, then you're going to be left behind. I mean, everyone knows after COVID that they need to have a hybrid, event strategy or model for dealing with outreach, because you're not going to be able to be in front of your clients physically if, there are interruptions. And of course, at the same time, you're going to have more global reach if you have some sort of hybrid event strategy. But thinking beyond that, thinking bigger than that, what can you do to, get to all of these different segments of your audience? Like, I mean, early adopters, you've got the Gen Z and millennial kids that are probably going to adopt the game paradigm because they're used to playing it. I mean, anyone that has, teenagers to college kids right now, those kids are so adept, and they are, they need no instruction at how to interact in any sort of surreal environment that we create, because it's so intuitive and it's so used to what they're doing. But at the same time, I mean, right now you've got 75% of the retail community is interacting. It's more than that right now, online. So online purchasing, the single click, the Amazons. I mean, that is the kind of the new normal. Going back a decade now, and so giving those participants a chance to play. I think if you're a brand, you need to start investing in the tools and technologies to get to that audience, to take the risks, explore different explore different opportunities in the space. It doesn't have to be an avatar based experience, but again, to Josh's point, the game sector right now is targeted to be north of 300 billion. That total available market is already humongous. It's just an opportunity that we're trying to seize on.
Yeah. Now, do you still have? I'm curious, with the shifts with people being vaccinated and us, coming out of the pandemic. Do you have clients that are coming back to you that were, say, Echelon clients that are like, look, we are craving to get together live. What can you do for us live? What type of live events are happening, and how has Surreal informed those live events, and how has it impacted it?
So to answer your question, yes. I mean, I think everyone is desperate. I mean, for real live connection, and we, from a surreal perspective, we're not trying to replace or replicate real life. What we're working with companies to understand is that this is a place where you can do the things that you can't do in real life. So your event strategy is really your real life event strategy is going to be as important as ever, especially as the world comes back online, to getting face to face with clients, to doing the kind of networking where you just can't get, you can't recreate in a virtual space. And so, that is we see on the Echelon side of our shop is a snapback, right, to live events where there's going to be a lot of investment back into that space. But there is this, I guess, in parallel, there's this real growing understanding that hybrid is the way of the future because of the points that you made earlier. There's the cost of impact of travel and entertainment, which is sometimes limiting with regards to who gets to go to the live events, where, in a virtual event space that can be, online, either congruently or for longer periods of time, you get to now open up that opportunity for audiences to engage with your brand or your company in ways that maybe they wouldn't have before. And getting back to what Adam said is like taking risks and getting started with regards to brands that are trying to figure out what are the right tools for doing their virtual events. Having something that's differentiated, that's going to stand out, virtually exploring an event.
Oh, 100%. And what I love about what you're saying is I love the notion of an experience strategy, right? Like there might be one aspect of it that's like, okay, yes, we know we want to have some connection. And so there'll be a live aspect of it. And we want to be seen as the innovators that we are and the early adopters that we are, which means we need something that will help us stand out. So you get to, it's definitely a both and. It's funny, I have a board meeting tonight for a not-for-profit, and the assumption is it's our first live meeting, and it's assumed that it's hybrid. This is just one single meeting for, say, 12 people, right? And the assumption is now that there will always be a hybrid option. I can always dial in, and if I so choose, I can show up and be there live in person. And so it's changed. Like, it just goes to show you that, like, the mindset is different. People will assume that there is going to be another option. So if there is another option, you want that, you want to be looking at that from a strategic, innovative way, and how can you maximize it?
And as a marketer, I mean, logistically, it becomes more complicated in many ways because, events are logistics, heavy. I mean, as Adam would tell you, I mean, it's down to the details of just tactically executing to have a successful event, whether it's in real life or virtual. And because you do have to have both now, and in cases now, we're seeing large, especially in the tech world, conferences are spinning up these hybrids where you'll have like a home base, right? So you'll have it's going to be centrally held in San Francisco, for example, like Salesforce. For the Dreamforce conference, we'll have their main kind of event, which is going to be an invite-only, exclusive, limited attendant kind of thing in San Francisco, and then they're going to have something in New York, and they're going to have something in Sydney, or they're going to have something in these different cities around the world where people can't travel. And so you'll have these sort of micro events, which are really going to be more community focused, and then all the people that can't go still. And so having a hybrid approach, and a strategy earlier than later is going to be really critical too, because it's just more to manage. And and I don't know, we're not seeing this. I mean, I was on a panel a few weeks ago with one of the creatives and chief creatives at RGA, and I said, well, are you guys seeing your clients, are they beginning to build teams and budgets specifically for virtual events? Because you've got your marketing, trade show, and live event, kind of business units or groups that know what to do, and then you've got your digital marketing group. And right now it's been largely this sort of, well, we can use the live event budget to cover the virtual event, the costs, which aren't like, it's not like there's this huge cost saving. There's definitely cost savings, but there's still cost to producing anything because they're more content intensive now, process and a ride that we're still on.
I mean, I look at it a lot like the evolution of the internet. Now, the internet brought us access to information, and it was a free and, at that point, democratized vehicle. But the minute that you start infusing, transactional profit, and it became an e-commerce base, now look at where it is today. E-commerce is probably heavier at this point in history than traditional brick and mortar retail, just given the fact that you have more reach. And fulfillment can be done through third parties. There's all sorts of things that you can do, to tax evasion and liabilities in terms of like where you operate. Those aren't as big an issue. And if you look at like what's happening in video games, as the video game sector starts to emerge with the general online play, Josh was talking about pixel streaming. You're getting this new kind of hybrid of the ability to play through your experiences in transaction with the internet. So e-commerce starts to virtualize. I know we're looking through screens right now to have, to be a part of this podcast, but eventually you will be in the transaction yourself. Your avatar, your digital persona won't just be a wallet on your phone. It will be you, your avatar in a. I always think about like what Spielberg did to the adaptation of the book Ready Player One, because it was a great kind of feeling of what the metaverse could be. And this is really, we're at the very beginning of it, creating kind of a new paradigm, a new way to interact and engage that's far more visceral, far more interesting, and it's a game. It's so you can do anything. Travis Scott and Fortnite is a great example of like what first kind of wet our whistle to this. And that is the antic that I have to provide.
This has been such a fantastic conversation. I love this being sort of on the cutting edge of what experience looks like for brands. And so I have one final question, which is, say I'm the CMO of Jane Doe Operations, $50 billion organization. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to engage in this new level, next level experiences. I want that for my clients and my customers. I want that for my fans. What are like 3 things that I need to either think about or know? Just like your top 3 things.
One, this is a long game, right? So don't think about, what can I put, inputs in today to generate profit tomorrow. This is, whether you call it virtual reality or mixed reality, it's sort of messy, and it is certainly a long game strategy when you think about investing in your future. So one, that's the most important thing. 2, there's no stopping it. So you're either going to wake up 3 to 5 years from now and you're going to be, down the road with this technology and ahead of your competition, or you're going to be behind. And so depending on where you want to be. 3, the best thing to do is to get started now. And this is a great time in our current history where, you can take some chances. And I think there's going to be a level of sort of understanding and forgiveness that comes out of this once in 100-year pandemic, where I think people and customers are going to appreciate the brands that are not trying to sell them, but are really looking to add value by creating communities in a space where they're already at, And so I think the risk reward factor will pay off with smart investment and just getting started now. Real honest effort to get involved in building something that's brand
value by building community. Adam, what do you have to add?
I just want to plug one thing. So we've been working on a white paper that talks to this question. It's called The Future of Fan Experiences in a Post-Pandemic World and How to Monetize Them. That gives very tangible, very structured approaches to going forward in this space. Stay tuned.
Excellent. We'll make sure links are available so people can get access to that white paper.
Awesome.
Adam, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the work that you're doing to next level level up. I just love using the word level lately.
Yes.
Is that just am I I'm not the only one that's doing that, right? Am I on trend with the word level?
You're on level, yeah.
I'm on level. Am I extra? Am I extra level? Am I leveling?
Could be.
You don't want to be
level?
too shaky.
Oh my gosh, Adam, you had to bring in the shaker shakes. Well,
Wow.
Thank you again so much. This has been a blast, and I
Thanks,
can't
Melissa.
wait to hear and see and mostly experience what comes from Surreal Events in the coming months. Thanks.